The most dangerous number in personal finance may not be the price. It may be the monthly payment that makes you stop looking at the price. A car does not feel like a $40,000 decision when the first number you see is a monthly payment. A new phone does not feel expensive when the advertisement breaks it into a small amount spread across 3 years. A sofa, a laptop, a vacation, even a pair of shoes can suddenly feel affordable when the real price is replaced by a smaller number. Nothing about the product became cheaper. The price did not change. The number you were asked to judge changed. And that small change can completely alter the way you make financial decisions. Because once everything is translated into monthly payments, the question is no longer, is this worth the total cost? The question becomes, can I fit this payment into this month? That sounds reasonable, but it hides a larger problem. A monthly payment is not just a smaller version of a price. It is a claim placed on your future income. And when enough of those claims accumulate, your income can be spent long before it ever reaches your bank account. Imagine that you are considering a new car. The total price is large enough to make you pause. You might compare different models. You might question whether you need the more expensive version. You might consider buying used or keeping your current car for another year. But then the conversation changes. Instead of discussing the total price, the salesperson asks how much you would like to pay each month. Suddenly, the decision feels easier. The expensive model may only be slightly more per month. The upgraded interior might add a small amount. The larger wheels, extended warranty, and extra features might each add only a little more. Every additional cost is translated into a number that feels manageable. The total price slowly disappears from the decision. This is not limited to cars. It happens with phones, furniture, electronics, insurance products, software, memberships, and buy now, pay later purchases. The monthly payment becomes the main number, while the real price becomes background information. That changes the question inside your mind. Instead of asking, is this product worth what it costs? You ask, can I handle this monthly payment? Those are not the same question. A payment can fit inside your budget and still represent a bad purchase. You may be able to pay $60 every month, but that does not automatically mean the product is worth $60 every month for the next 3 years. Affordability begins to replace value. And once that happens, the goal is no longer to find the best use of your money. The goal becomes finding a payment small enough to avoid discomfort. That is the affordability illusion. The product feels cheaper, not because its cost has fallen, but because the cost has been divided into pieces small enough to ignore. One monthly payment rarely destroys a budget. The real problem is that monthly payments do not arrive alone. There may be a car payment, a phone payment, a furniture payment, a credit card payment, a gym membership, several streaming services, cloud storage, software subscriptions, device protection, insurance upgrades, and a few buy now, pay later purchases. Each one may seem harmless when considered separately. A small payment for a phone feels manageable. A small payment for a laptop feels manageable. A small payment for a new television feels manageable. A handful of subscriptions feel manageable. But your income does not experience them separately. Your income experiences all of them at the same time. Payments are purchased one at a time, but they are paid all at once. That is why monthly commitments can grow without creating a single moment of alarm. There may never be one large decision that obviously damages your finances. Instead, there are 15 small decisions, each of which seemed reasonable at the time. The first payment removes a small amount of flexibility. The next removes a little more. Then another payment begins. Then a free trial quietly becomes a permanent subscription. Then a credit card balance creates a minimum payment. Then a financed purchase overlaps with another financed purchase. No single payment appears responsible for the pressure, but together, they begin to control the budget. This is why people with decent incomes can still feel as though there is never enough money left. Their income may be high, but much of it is already assigned. Before they decide what to do with this month's money, decisions from previous months have already decided for them. Suppose your net monthly income is $5,000. When that money arrives, it may look like you have $5,000 available, but you probably do not. Perhaps $1,500 is already committed to housing. Another $600 is committed to a car. Several hundred is committed to debt payments. More is committed to insurance, devices, subscriptions, and other contracts. The money has arrived today, but part of it was spent months or even years ago. This is the difference between income received and income available. Income received is what enters your account. Income available is what remains after previous promises have been paid. The difference between those two numbers matters more than most people realize. A person earning $5,000 with $2,000 in required commitments may have more financial freedom than someone earning $7,000 with $5,500 already committed. The second person earns more, but has less room to move. That is why income alone does not tell you whether someone is financially comfortable. You also need to know how much of that income already belongs to past decisions. This is pre-spent income. It is money that has not technically left your account yet, but is no longer available for a new purpose. You cannot easily redirect it towards savings. You cannot freely use it for an emergency. You cannot invest it without missing another obligation. It is future income with an existing owner. And the more income becomes pre-spent, the more fragile the rest of the financial system becomes. Most people understand that a monthly payment costs money. What is less obvious is that it also costs flexibility. Imagine that you are offered a better job. The work is more interesting. The long-term opportunity is stronger, but the starting salary is slightly lower. Could you accept it? That depends partly on how much of your income is already committed. Imagine that you want to leave a stressful job, take a few months off, move to a new city, return to school, or start a business. Again, the decision depends on how much room remains in your monthly budget. A person with low fixed commitments can adapt. A person with high fixed commitments may have to stay exactly where they are, even when a better option appears. This is the hidden cost of monthly payments. A $300 payment does not only cost $300, it may also increase the cost of changing jobs. It may increase the cost of taking time off. It may increase the cost of saying no to overtime. It may increase the cost of dealing with a medical problem or helping a family member. It may force you to maintain an income level that no longer fits the life you want. The payment buys the product, but the commitment sells part of your flexibility. And flexibility has real financial value. It allows you to respond when life changes. It allows you to survive temporary income loss. It gives you time to make a better decision instead of accepting the first available option. It allows you to take calculated risks. It gives you the ability to walk away. People often think wealth means owning more things, but a large part of financial strength is having fewer decisions that have already been made for you. This leads to a useful number that most budgets never calculate. It is called the pre-spent income ratio. The calculation is simple: required monthly commitments divided by net monthly income. Suppose your net income is $5,000 and your required monthly commitments total $3,100. Your pre-spent income ratio is 62%. That means 62% of your income has already been assigned before the month begins. Only 38% remains to cover food, transportation, savings, unexpected expenses, and every new choice you may want to make. The purpose of this ratio is not to create another perfect financial rule. There is no single percentage that works for everyone. A person with stable income, strong savings, and low risk may be comfortable with a higher ratio. Someone with irregular income, dependence, or little emergency savings may feel pressure at a much lower level. The useful question is not, is my ratio good or bad? The useful question is it rising, and what is causing it to rise? Include obligations that are difficult to avoid once the month begins. Housing payments, vehicle payments, loan payments, minimum debt payments, insurance, finance devices, and subscriptions or contracts that cannot be canceled immediately. Do not treat every normal expense as pre-spent. Groceries can be adjusted. Entertainment can be reduced. A planned purchase can be delayed. But a loan payment still arrives. That is the distinction. The pre-spent income ratio shows how much of your future income still belongs to future you. Before accepting a new monthly payment, calculate how much it changes this ratio. A payment may seem small by itself, but if it pushes your ratio from 48% to 55%, the effect is larger than the advertisement suggests. You are not only buying a product, you are reducing the amount of your future income that remains unclaimed. To see a purchase clearly, you need more than one price. You need three. The first is the total price. This is the complete amount you will pay over the life of the purchase. If something costs $600 per month for 84 months, the total is $50,400 before any additional fees. The monthly number may look manageable. The total number may change the way you feel about the decision. Include interest, financing charges, required insurance, service plans, delivery fees, and any final payment. Then ask a simple question. Would I still consider this a good deal if the monthly payment were hidden? The second price is the cash flow price. This is the amount of monthly space the purchase removes from your budget. A $250 payment is not only $250 leaving your account. It may be $250 that no longer goes toward your emergency fund. It may be $250 that slows down debt repayment. It may delay a home purchase, reduce your investments, or make another goal impossible. The cash flow price tells you what the payment replaces. The third price is the flexibility price. This is the hardest price to calculate, but it may be the most important. What future decisions become more difficult because of this commitment? Would you still be able to manage a temporary income drop? Could you change jobs? Could you move? Could you cover a major repair without borrowing again? Could you support someone in your family? Could you cancel the agreement or sell the item without a large loss? The flexibility price measures how many future options the purchase removes. This gives us the three-price rule: the total price, the cash flow price, and the flexibility price. If you only know the monthly payment, you know the smallest part of the price. None of this means that monthly payments are always a mistake. Financing can be useful. It can help preserve cash reserves. It can spread the cost of an essential purchase across the period in which the item is used. It can allow a business to acquire equipment that produces more income than the financing costs. It can help someone avoid emptying an emergency fund for a necessary expense. A monthly payment can make sense when the total cost is clear, the financing terms are reasonable, and the payment does not place too much pressure on future income. The important distinction is why the monthly payment is being used. Is it being used to manage liquidity, or is it being used to manufacture a feeling of affordability? Those are very different situations. Good financing helps you manage money that you already understand. Bad financing helps you avoid understanding how much you are spending. Before signing, you should know the total price without needing to search for it. You should know when the payment ends. You should know what happens if you need to exit early. You should know the effect on your pre-spent income ratio. And you should be able to explain why financing is better than waiting, saving, or choosing a cheaper alternative. If the only argument for the purchase is, the monthly payment is not that high, then the decision probably needs another look. The modern economy has become very good at turning expensive things into small numbers. A yearly cost becomes a monthly cost. A monthly cost becomes a weekly cost. A weekly cost becomes an amount per day, and eventually, almost anything can be made to sound affordable. But dividing a price does not reduce it. It only changes how the price feels. The next time you see a payment advertised as only a small amount per month, pause before asking whether you can afford it. Ask for the total price. Calculate the cash flow price. Consider the flexibility price. Then look at how much of your income is already pre-spent. Because the real measure of affordability is not whether a payment fits inside this month. It is whether your future still has room to move. Your paycheck may arrive next week, next month, or next year. But every long-term payment you accept today is already waiting for it. The goal is not to avoid every commitment. The goal is to make sure your past decisions do not take control of your future income. Because financial freedom is not only about how much money you earn, it is also about how much of that money still belongs to you when it arrives.
In the sketchbook economy, every page leads to another. Subscribe and turn the page with me.